I'm not a fall person at all. While everyone else is super excited about their pumpkin spice lattes and getting to wear scarves, I'm cold and I'm grumpy that my garden is dying. But one thing that makes up for it is the fact that quince season starts, and I love quinces. My dad brought me home a couple big baskets of quince, and so I'm excited to make up some recipes. Last year I did up a variety of different recipes. I'll put a list up there. But I didn't make any of my classics. One of the things that I really love making is a quince syrup. It's really good like on pancakes and in cocktails, and it's fun. It has the quince flavor, it has the pink quince color, and I personally find lots of uses for it. So I'm gonna make up a big batch of that today. Look at these beautiful quince. Quince have a bit of a fuzz on it, almost like a peach. So the first thing I do anytime I'm working with quince is I wash this fuzz off just with some cool water in the sink. Last year I processed a lot of quince, and one of the things that I learned is these little monsters do not want to be your friends. They do not want to get cut up. They're really, really hard. In the prep video that I made, I was showing how I peel and core them for poaching them for other recipes. In this case, I'm just doing a syrup. I'm not gonna bother with taking the peel off, the core, any of that. It's just all gonna go in the pot together. The peel, the core, things like that on the quince actually has a lot of pectin in it. So if you were going to be making like a jelly or a jam, it's not a bad idea to get as much pectin as you can into your recipe. It thickens it up. And with the syrup, I like having the pectin in there because it naturally thickens it. Usually with a syrup, you have to add a lot of sugar to get it to start to thicken up. And I find with the quince that I can make a lighter flavored syrup that's still thick because of the pectin in the fruit. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy a quince syrup. Another point is you want to make sure that your fruit is as ripe as possible, not only because it adds more flavor, but also because it gets a lot easier to work with. I got my fruit underripe last year, and I noticed just letting it sit for about a month before I did any work with it made it from I couldn't cut it to I could cut it with effort. So that is a trick if you're working with your stuff and it's just not working out well. Just give it a bit of time to ripen up on your counter. The way that I tell if my quince are ripe enough or not is by smell. It'll have a really strong, fragrant, almost floral smell to it as it ripens up, and also color. Mine are quite ripe, but here's an example. If there's some green tones to it, this is less ripe than one that potentially has some brown spots. This isn't it going bad. These are still totally fine, even though it's starting to get a little bit browned. It will brown if it gets bruised, so you want to avoid bruising them up if you can. But yeah, so that's one of the ways I look for the ripest fruit possible. For this recipe, I'm going to cut the quince into quarters just so that they will cook a little bit quicker. You don't actually have to, chop them into any specific size, but the more they're chopped up, the faster they will cook down and the faster your syrup will be ready. Next, I'm gonna fill up this pot with water till the fruit is covered with water. I'm gonna simmer my pot for a couple hours. You wanna make sure you put a lid on the pot because you don't want all of your juice, which is going to become your syrup, to evaporate away. Letting it simmer for a couple hours is going to allow all the flavor to get out of the fruit into the water, and it's going to then make a really good base when we strain the liquid off to start putting together our syrup. It's been cooking for about an hour now. You can see the fruit started to cook down. There isn't much of a pinkness to it yet. As it cooks, it should get a little bit pink. I've boiled this for about 3 hours now. In the past, the fruit has held together better. This time it's completely gone to mush. So it would be easy to turn it into jam at this point. I could just separate out the core and the peel, but I still want to make the syrup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an initial straining on it, and then I'm going to get cheesecloth and I'm gonna strain it again to try to get a liquid that's as clear as possible. I have the liquid strained out of the quince now. The rest of the pulp can be used for other recipes. I put it through my food mill and I'm probably gonna make a quince jam out of it. So at this point, we're gonna take the liquid, we're gonna add a bunch of sugar, and we're gonna start to cook it down into the syrup. The amount of sugar that you wanna use is kind of, relative to what you want it to taste like. Like I said earlier, the quince has a lot of pectin in it, so this is already thickened up a little bit like a syrup, even though I haven't even put sugar in yet, so you don't have to use quite as much. I'm just gonna, eyeball it. I'm probably, I have I don't know, 2 liters of liquid in here, so I'm probably gonna use something in the range of 4 cups for this. We'll do that. You can taste it after it cooks a little bit. Also, the longer you cook it down, the sweeter it will get too. I'm gonna cook it down because my goal is to get the color on the syrup to be really bright and it to have a really strong quince flavor, but I don't want the sugar to be overwhelming. I have my syrup all cooked down now, and all that's left is to let it cool a little bit so it's easier to handle, and then I'm going to put it into jars. If I'm going to get to it pretty quickly, within 2 weeks to a month, I'll just keep it in my fridge, but if I want it to keep any longer than that, I put it into my freezer. So because I made such a big batch, about half of this is going to end up in my freezer. All right, and there we go. That is the final product, the final syrup there. And check out the color on this jam. It looks pretty amazing. Anytime you're working with quince, it takes forever, to make this batch of syrup, and then the jam, it basically took all day. But it's not a high attention thing. It's just something simmering away on the stove. I love quince, and I'm excited to have the flavors to work with again. The kids were talking about stuff that they want to do with the quince jam, so it's nice to hear them saying they remember eating the quince from last year and enjoyed it as well. I don't currently have a quince tree on our new farm, but I'm hoping to get my hands on one next year so I can start the slow process to finally getting my very own homegrown quince fruit. If you enjoy farming and homesteading type content, make sure to subscribe and let me know if you know any good quince recipes down below, because I still have lots of quince left.